Well, hello there, how are you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Today we have a new exciting pick card reading. This one is going to be about general messages from the universe with an emphasis on what we're experiencing at the moment, that is the lunar eclipse season. Okay? And yeah, I just want to make it clear that this pick card reading is timeless, but if you're here, you are in the presence of the energy of the lunar eclipse season. Okay, just want to make it clear because this is very much the kind of energies that we're going to be channeling about today, and something I'm really excited about because as I was shuffling the cards, like some cards already flew out, which makes so much sense for the well, what we're experiencing at the moment. And yeah, for anyone present here, especially if you're watching it as the during the eclipse season, we're definitely in the presence today of the energy of transformation. Our lives transforming for the better, but the thing that is transforming at the core of this transformation, it's us. We are transforming, and that's why the circumstances are changing. So it's very powerful, but it's also intense, okay? And that's very much why am I excited about this reading. If you are interested in it as well, well, make yourself at home, make yourself comfortable, you already know the jazz, and we're gonna get into it now. Today we got 3 piles to be choosing from. As always, I'm gonna be asking you to tune into your intuition on this one, to feel into which pile you feel the most drawn to, which pile is the one holding the information you're meant to be hearing today at this moment. Knowing that if you feel drawn to more than one pile, that's totally fine. It simply means that there's probably more information for you to be picking up on at this moment, okay? So yeah, take your time with this one. Pause the video if you need to, really. Here we have pile number 1 with the Bloodstone. Pile number 2 with the Labradorite. I don't know why I struggled with that one. The dear old Labradorite. Pile number 3 with the Sodalite. Okay. Once you've made your choice, you can fast forward directly to the timestamps provided down below, either in the description box, the pinned comment, so that you can fast forward directly to your reading. Okay? And I'm going to be seeing you there. Hey there, pile number 1, how are you doing? Pile number 1, if you chose the Bloodstone, that's going to be your reading, and we're going to get right into it. We're gonna go slow because I feel like some messages, I've already shuffled pre-drew the cards. I feel like we're off for a quite intense thing, and right on cue, it's a little intense what we're talking about. It's like we're starting off with the big cards, so to speak, and we have like, I do feel that just this reading, but also for this part, is like we're dealing with such deep yet such interesting frequencies. 3 transformative frequencies, definitely. And here what we are having, I'm literally having the duality of you, pile number 1, currently experiencing heaviness, currently discovering parts of yours which are in need of attention, which are in need of integration, things that you may not feel very comfortable with, things it's just time to pay attention to it. But also you can tell that it just requires patience. It's like you will have to sit in the discomfort for a while because you can only process so much at a time, so to speak. And so that means that, yeah, you're just gonna have to be comfortable in the discomfort. And all of these things coming up to the surface, as we know, they're always there to just, be integrated, being released and blah, blah, blah. But on the other end, it's like we're having like a portal here. We're being shown where and why, where it's headed and why it's happening. And here what I'm really seeing is like Ascension Conqueror of Wands. It's the version of you which is just, first of all, completely unapologetic and doesn't give an F about what other people think. That's one thing. But the version of you which is living their absolute best lives, the best version of yourself. And I feel like there is such an exciting energy that feels almost unbelievable, that feels almost way too much to be realistic for the mind. It's like, whoa. But it's the kind of thing we've been dreaming of for years, you know? It's very much here. It's like, yeah, we're ascending into that. That's why this big purge, basically. It feels like a big purge. It feels like a lot of things are chaotic. A lot of things are coming up to the surface. A lot of things are screaming for attention. It feels like a big mess. But it's the moment, because we are moving on to new levels. We are rising to new heights. Like, we got the wings there. It's like we're up leveling ourselves, and as we are doing this, our life starts looking different. But the big emphasis here is not so much about like, yeah, I want a different experience of my life. Is as in, I'm in a relationship currently, in a romantic relationship, which I don't really like. I'd like to find someone else. Or, oh yeah, there's this one job that I have. I don't like the boss, so I'd like to change it. It's these things, yes, definitely, but it's still quite small thinking compared to the magnitude of the transformation which is undergoing. That's why it's like I'm seeing the temptation of like this. It feels ego who is like so happy, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. It's like, oh my god, I'm so happy because finally the change I've been wanting, that I've been craving for, is happening. And it's like, yeah, but that's not the point. It's much, much deeper, much, much more fulfilling. It's something that you're not seeing, part number one. I just feel like this transformation and this awakening, that's very much the word, because it's we are transforming in the way we are relating to the world. We are transforming in our state of being, in who we are embodying. That is so profound that the impact that it's going to have over your like physical experience will be drastic, tremendous, but well beyond that which you would have been attached to previously. It's gonna far exceed that which you were thinking about previously. It's so much so that, it's like, yeah, right now we may be attached to things that we're really craving because they're bothering us. But by then you will realize that this was like as much as it happened, it was actually the least important thing almost of what's actually been happening and what is actually going on. That's how deep I feel this transformation going, and that's why it just feels so exciting. It feels so exciting because of the fact that the mind cannot even figure out what the heck we're talking about. It's like this state of being you have only seen in your dreams so far, and now you're preparing to actually embody and live it. That's a whole new experience. That's a whole deal. And yeah, we're definitely on this one this idea we're coming out of ego. It's like all of this, like the energy I'm picking up on is almost like the wishful thinking of a kid who's had it bad, who's gone through a lot. It's like there's nothing wrong with that. But what's actually happening is far greater and goes well beyond just that little wishful thinking. So it's good, but on top of that, it's even better, so to speak. So, yeah, it's like deep energy straight off the bat. I put there a lot of water, Gemini. There's definitely. That's funny. Yeah. Okay. It's like the transformation which is truly happening is what I'm getting is, as we are releasing the fears, as we are releasing the illusions, the lies that we were taught by the world, basically. Because when we come in this world where we don't know any better than to believe what other people tell us. It's like we start thinking on our own starting age of 7, 8, not before. So obviously you were taught a lot of things which just turned out to be illusions and lies, and that's okay in and of itself. But as right now, why does it feel so intense as a period? Because we're working through all of these illusions. In releasing these illusions, in having the bravery to listen to the fear, to go into the fear, so as to see what is the belief, the experience that we're holding on to, which is making us feel terrified. There's definitely a reference to feeling safe here, reference to safety. We are releasing, I want to say, almost like all that which would keep us anchored in the old world. You guys are aware of the split which has definitely started to happen between the old world and the new earth, right? We are like unanchoring ourselves from the 3D. We're unanchoring ourselves from the old world and letting ourselves float to the top, which is our natural state, which is the 5th dimension. We're only high vibrational beings here on this call, Planet One. That's why it also feels fun. That's why it just feels so cute, this idea of the ego coming through, because we're like, I'm just looking at like someone who feels like a kid because of what they're currently working through, who is just trying to figure it out, is just trying to make it work, is just trying to, is like, is deeply concerned with things which in the grand scheme of things are not that important. And boom, all of a sudden, the soul starts sparking up and the quote-unquote kid realizes its divine nature. It's like such a profound, drastic shift in such a drastic shift of picture. It's like, it feels like from black to white, it feels like from one person to another. That's what we call quantum leaping, by the way, baby. But it's so profound and it's so holistic. It's like I struggle finding the words to describe the depth of the transformation that we're experiencing. I truly see, yes, someone who is working through their psychological patterns, not only psychological, but you get what I mean. Their karmic baggages, their lessons, their learning. It's like they're putting in the work they set out to do in this lifetime, because we just chose it, because we know that all of these beautiful lessons that we're learning, we're going to be using in the future, although we may not be realizing it at the moment. And so right now we're working through all of that and we feel small. We feel like, again, we're trying to figure it out. That's very ego. There's nothing wrong with it, yet again. There's very much the energy. What we're shifting into is like, oh my God, the mind could not comprehend that. But what I'm saying is that, yeah, as we release all of it, that makes space for the truth to sink in. And that's when we realize, oh, wait a minute, I was a divine being all along. And that's a profound shift of picture. Now all of a sudden, life doesn't look the same at all, because we realize that we're not what we thought we previously were. Wow, that is so powerful. I feel like the biggest transformation at the moment is on safety. That's why Spirit is coming through saying that if you feel unsafe at the moment, if you feel afraid about anything that concerns your safety, may it be your finances, your job, may it be your house, may it be your family, may it be your closest relationships, anything which triggers when it comes to you feeling safe. That is the thing which is currently being put under the magnifying glass, because that is the thing that will move the needle the most at the moment. So it's like, you feel like it's intense? Yeah, that's a good sign. It means that it's happening. It means that you're moving through it. Please don't flee from it. You know what you gotta do. Now, what else do we have? See, I'm still getting this funny duality between the ego and the soul, between the human and the soul self. It's like, when we are experiencing life through the eyes of the human, we feel that there is us and then there is a higher self and there is our soul. They appear as two distinct entities, so to speak, although it's us that we understand. We may not, this knowledge may not sink in, but we understand that it's supposedly the same person that we're talking about, although they appear in our experience as two different instances. From the perspective of the soul, the human, the ego, is just a tiny piece of, it's just like your hand would be to your body. Yeah, it's a part of you, but there is no more distinction. And I'm seeing really this shift, this transitioning of perspective, someone experiencing their lives through the eyes of the ego, through the eyes of the human, into someone experiencing their lives through the eyes of their higher self through the eyes of their soul, from feeling like there is us and our soul to there's just us. That's it. That's very much the transitioning that I am picking up here. That's why it feels so profound, and the impacts of that are tremendous and holistic, definitely. Because here again, I'm getting like the child was meant to be artificial heart, like someone who's had it a little rough in the past, who's had a plethora of different lessons to be learning, and who's still going through some of them, and feeling and emotions may have been hard, and so there's just this feeling of having lost ourselves along the way. It's like the personality, the identity that we may have been embodying so far, we may feel deep down doesn't fully reflect who we truly are. It's just that we needed to adapt to survive, so to speak. But now that we're like nailing down the reason to why this fear settled in the first place, and we get to feel safe unconditionally, that there is no reason to feel like we need to survive, that there is no reason to feel the fear, all of a sudden it makes it tremendously easier to release all that no longer serves us. All of a sudden, it's just there's no point in hiding anymore. There's no point in pretending anymore. We know we are safe. And that's when things shift. But I also feel like Spirit, the koala Spirit has a plan. That's when you realize why you went through all of this, basically. That's when things start making sense. That when things, it's like you're reaching a point where you will be looking back and you'll be like, if I had to do it again, I would do it again, because I understand why I had to go through it. I understand how much value it had, although what I was going through, it was an absolute mess, and it was not pleasant at all. I would do it again still, because I know how important that was and how valuable and how much richer I am as a being as a result. And the funny thing is that Spirit has a plan, but by then you realize that it's your plan. It's not Spirit's. Spirit's is just enacting the plan that you set out to do, knowing that while you were doing this work, you would momentarily forget your divine nature. You would sink into the perspective of the human, and so you would need Spirit to help guide you, basically. That was a pact. That was the plan, so to speak. But as you rise again, you realize, you remember. It's like, oh yeah, I was the one to tell Spirit to guide me through it. Because I knew in advance that I would probably forget about it while I was going through it. It feels like a profound homecoming. And the thing that I'm picking up on more than that is, yeah, just the point of realization where you understand the why. Why did it all go this way? And as you see the why, just you deeply falling in love with your story and just being so proud of it. And also experiencing your life completely changing direction. If there is no fear, if we step out of this survivor kind of mentality, then what's there to stop you anymore? And it's very much what I'm picking up on. It's like this realization, as in, oh, now I realize that the majority of what I was doing so far was so as to cope with my survivor mentality, was so as to cope with my insecurities. Now that this is gone, now that this has been integrated, now that this has been transmuted, I'm free. So what you gonna do now? That's very much the question that is popping up. That's how profound this shift is in your life. Wow. Beautiful. Thank you so much, Pound Number One, for sharing space with me today. That was a heck of a reading. Quite profound, quite intense one to open up today. So yeah, that was a lovely reading. Very impactful one, I feel. I just feel it's good at sometimes, especially when we're going through it, to get a reminder of why this is all going according to plan, although it doesn't look like it, why it's all happening this way. I just feel like it's nice to have a reminder. But yeah, thank you so much for your presence. Please let me know down in the comments if it resonated, how it went for you. I'd love to know. While you're at it, please also like and subscribe. That would support me a lot. And yeah, I'm gonna be seeing you in my next video or in another group. I don't know. Till then, have a good day. Bye. Hey there, pal number 2, how are you doing? Welcome to the reading. If you chose the Labradorite, that's gonna be your reading, so we're gonna get into it now. Screw the Bloodstone. Let's go. So to begin with, yeah, I do feel that my pal number 2s, there's a lot of a big emphasis on love at the moment, and self-love and falling in love with yourself. And that starts with compassion with the things which may have been challenging. Having compassion for ourselves, because more often than not, when we feel like we've gravitated away from self-love, which is our natural state, that's why you know, it's like some people write entire books or spend entire lifetimes trying to reach self-love as if it was a destination, whenever it's just your default state. It's not a destination. That's like joy. People write books about how to be joyful. It's not a how-to. There's no how to feel, how to be that which you already are. You cannot get that which you haven't lost. Do you get what I mean? So self-love is not, at heart, is not a practice. Self-love is not an action. It's not a doing. It's a natural state towards which we go back by releasing all that convinced us that we need to go away from it. And that starts with the compassion of all the things that we learned weren't lovable about ourselves, obviously. So I'm really getting the energy that for you, pal number 2, this period of time that you're finding yourself in feels like a void, feels like emptiness. It feels, perhaps some of you may feel like you're being isolated. You don't necessarily understand why, but it just so happens that you don't get to see as many people as you would typically. It just feels like there's, I'm just feeling a big sense of emptiness within and also without, a big space opening up. And in this big space, well, you get to know the only person there is there, which is you, right? Sometimes being by yourself is the most beneficial thing you can experience for the sake of getting to know said person. And so I just feel like what is currently going on in your experience is that you're rehearsing, you're experiencing a lot of past memories and old beliefs about yourself that you were taught by this person and that person, by the world, by such experience, and you're just starting to see through it that the fact that you didn't have to do any, I mean, you weren't responsible for any of these things. It didn't concern you in the first place. It didn't have anything to do with you. And in such, starting to see how much compassion you feel for yourself in releasing these things, self-love appears. It's almost like, I want to use a metaphor, but none is coming really right now. So screw that. It's like self-love is always there, but sometimes our minds may be shouting, yelling, screaming, so we don't get to experience that which is underneath because our mind is being so loud. You know, when we say like intuition is always there, but it's got such a quiet voice that you wouldn't hear it over the yelling of the mind. So if you want to tune into your intuition, you'll have to quiet the mind. And if the mind doesn't want to quiet, then you know what you need. You know that you will need to explore why the mind is yelling in the first place. As really what I'm getting here is that as you are releasing all that is pushing your mind into yelling these self-depreciative lies about yourself, you're getting to realize more and more how much self-love there already was below. But you wouldn't notice it until the yelling would stop. I hope it makes sense. But that's really what I'm getting here, so that's very, very cool. That's funny that we got an eclipse card for this eclipse season. what do you got? The mutable moon is interesting actually, because I'm getting this idea of people being, some of you being like very harsh on yourself because you feel like you have lost time, because you feel like you've lost, yeah, a lot. Some of you feel like you've lost some years of your life to just hating yourself and coping with some of these self-depreciative thoughts. And Spirit is just here saying that, sweetheart, you're a being of high energy. You aren't linear. You naturally are made to be in a state of quantum leaping. That's how you navigate through life. And when that's the baseline of your experience, although you may not be experiencing it at the moment because you're still working through density, you will soon realize that this is how you move through life. In which case, as soon as you start jumping in your identities, in your states of beings, that you see how your life shifts, that can shift that quickly, you realize that you'll make up for all of this quote unquote lost time that wasn't lost at all. It was just spent differently. But all the things you wanted to experience, you'll get to experience them. Don't you worry. And more. That's a message that needs to come through. But another thing I'm feeling is like some of you may have been like very attached to wanting to feel themselves more confident, wanting to feel themselves more loving, definitely. Wanting to feel themselves like happier about themselves. And that's definitely the topic of what's going on right now. It's like you're releasing all of these old memories, all of these old lies, all of these old emotions, is opening up the space for that. Again, there's this message of coming through like, how do I do that? You don't do it. You undo what's been put in the way. And when you undo all of these things, you realize that the only thing left is the truth, which is that self-love, confidence, joy. They're not things you work towards. They're things you work back to. Does it make sense? Good. I just feel like we're talking again, like the fact that we got a full moon eclipse card for the for the eclipse reading is quite funny. I really do feel like it's the end of a era for you. It's the end of the version of you that used to be not so confident, used to like walk the tail between your legs, that used to be very quiet, be very shy, and all of these things that some of you may be very familiar with. Like, that's the end of that. That's when you're realizing that all of these things, they're all adaptations, and that none of them are true. None of these thoughts are real to begin with. They're illusions. When you get, I mean, you have to see through it. You have to be present with it. That's why it feels like such a tremendous amount of work sometimes, because it's like, okay, but each time there is a new belief, it means that there is an untapped emotion that needs to be experienced, and blah blah blah, and people feel discouraged and frustrated. That's normal. It's normal sometimes to feel a little frustrated along the way. It's like this healing process is really, you will realize, putting an end to a version of yourself you think was the natural you, and you're growing to realize that no, it's not the natural you. It's not. That was just a version of you that was adapted to all of that, but there is no longer a need for it. Let's see where we go. I love that. What a beautiful conclusion. Today for tomorrow be peace. I just feel like there's a lot of, some of you have been working hard with your emotions, with yourself, with these things. It's like some of you are quite familiar with this energy of the void that we are experiencing a lot right now. And the frustration component related to it, sometimes it feels like we're working a lot, but we're not seeing the results of what we're doing at the moment. It just feels like, yeah, I feel better on the moment because I've just released an emotion, and I've done my shadow work, I've done my work, I've explored this belief. But like on the moment you feel good because you know that you've done just that. But in the grand scheme of things, you just look around, you're like, yeah, okay, sweet, I don't feel like nothing has changed. Spirit is asking you to have trust. Now is the moment to go inwards, to explore these things. Tomorrow will be the moment to see how fun life gets and how good it gets. But there's a time for everything, so to speak. That's why you are reassured, you're being asked to know that you're not the only one going through it. It's very much like a planetary thing at the moment, but also that you will get to see the fruits of your labor. It's just not the time for it at the moment. There's a time for everything. Okay? But what I'm really tuning in for you in the future is like, be peace. Literally, is really you being in such a state of peace, profound peace. It's not just you are peaceful because you want to be peaceful. It's like the roots of your peace are so profound that they're unshakable. And people, I almost feel like I'm hearing glow up. Like so many people start being obsessed with you because you just feel so good in energy, and obviously everyone around starts picking up on that. And people are like, how do you do that? How are you this joyful and this peaceful all the time? Well, the answer is I know myself. Because of what I've done. I took the time to go within and explore all of these things. Now I know. And since I know, since I'm aware, since I've released all of the illusions, I'm at peace. But you understand that this is not something you can do. This is not something that can be taught. It's only something you can inspire. And that's why I feel that in the future you may become, if not already, but it's like something that is becoming something, I just feel like, which is developing forever more and more and more by the days pass by, a very influential figure in your sector, in your industry, because of how you feel, because of what you embody. Being in your presence is healing. And the more time passes, the more obvious that becomes. The more you get to know yourself, the strongest it appears. So that is very much a fascinating thing. But I just feel like such a sense of relief almost in putting an end to all of these lies and realizing the truth that was there all along, hiding behind the smoke. Yep. I hope it made sense. I feel like I got lost a few times throughout it, but yeah. I hope it was beneficial. Thank you so much, Pal number 2, for being present today. That was a lovely reading, a very, I feel like, empowering but also reassuring one almost. Yeah, when we're sitting, there is this energy of like sitting in an empty space and being like, okay, but why and where am I going? It's like, no, there's a reason for it. Don't you worry. Yeah, I truly do wish you well. While you're at it, please let me know down in the comments how it went for you. I'd be very curious to know what you're experiencing. Also, I could find it very interesting if you were to write a bit about your experience at the moment, because that would also reassure other people of this pile. There's this idea of, yeah, like doing it all on your own, whereas that's not true. Again, there is this message of that's a collective thing we're going through. Sometimes we feel isolated in our emotions, but it's not the case. So if you feel inspired to write down in the comments what you're going through, perhaps some other people, even if they don't answer, even if they don't write anything, some other people going through a similar experience may feel reassured, you know? So yeah, while you're at it, please also like the video and subscribe. That support me a lot. That being said, again, I wish you well. I wish you to enjoy the homecoming. I'm going to be seeing you in my next video. Till then, take care. Bye. Hey there, Pal number 3, how are you doing? Welcome to the reading. If it's just the Sodalite, that's going to be your reading, and we're going to get into it. Screw the Labradorite. It's your time to shine, baby. So, what do we have for you today, Pal number 3? Interesting. I feel like you're being asked to think bigger, to think outside the box. There's a dream of yours which is like sinking in. Something that you previously thought was maybe not achievable, something that you maybe perhaps before felt like was out of reach. but which has been making itself more and more present in your daydreaming, in your desires. I feel like an old dream which is really coming through again in a very strong manner. But it's also asking you to think differently. It's like before it felt out of reach because you didn't necessarily know how to move towards it. But now you're like, I feel like you're more expanded. You're more, I'm hearing optimistic for some of you that may be relevant. But yeah, I feel like there's this idea of moving towards it, but your way this time. I'm picking up the timeline of someone who had a dream of theirs, but who was like a little defeatist, perhaps because they felt like it was not possible, because the only way they believed it was possible to be done was not a way that felt good. It didn't feel genuine. It didn't feel authentic to them. And now you're realizing that no, there are an infinite manners of way to get to your goals always, for this universe is infinite. And so how about starting to move towards your dreams your way instead of having to compromise and sacrifice who you are? That's an interesting take. It's like, yeah, this fiery energy here as well. We got Sag, we got Aries. Take risks, time to take action. I just feel like you're being asked to move, to make a move. There is something you've been wanted to do, and if it doesn't ring a bell, that perhaps it may not be your pile number 3, but I just feel like there's something you've been wanting to do, something you've been meaning to do, something that feels very good, very exciting, and something that you really do hold close to your heart, dear to your heart. But when it comes to, okay, now what do I do? How am I supposed to move towards it? That's when things get tricky. That's when you start feeling much less optimistic. That's when you start feeling like you need to do things you don't like. And that's where previously you would start feeling stuck. And that's where the universe is like, no, you're not meant to be compromising anything in this life. Although it's a very popular belief that we love to teach each other, blah, blah, yada, 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 you already know. That's what I'm feeling, is like you're asked to take action on it, but an action that feels inspiring, that feels good, even if the mind may be like, why the heck are you even taking this action? You're being asked to follow intuition. You're being asked to also look at the bigger picture, realizing that if you desire it so badly, it's because it is already bound to happen. There's a version of you which already has it, which already is it, which is already experiencing it. That's what you're desiring. Desire is just you peeking into your future, peeking into a parallel version of you, which is in all cases something which already exists. It's not like something you gotta make happen. It's something you gotta shift into, something which already exists. And that's why you're being asked, yeah, what action today feels inspiring? Not what action you must take because otherwise you gotta be a bad boy or a bad girl. What action you know you need to take? And the answer will vary obviously for each and every one of you, number 3. But I feel that some of you may be surprised realizing that the action that you feel the most inspired to take may not be the action your mind thinks you must take. Again, your soul knows this stuff ever so slightly better than your mind, just as a little reminder. This universe knows slightly, just ever so slightly more than us as little humans. And it communicates the road forward through our excitement, through our inspiration, through that which lifts us up, through that which, inspires us. You may be realizing that what inspires you today may feel a little delulu, may feel not productive, may feel like it's not gonna yield any result. But Spirit is arguing that a tiny action that feels good is better than none at all, you know? I just feel like, yeah, there's this fear of the mind is like, I want that thing, obviously. The mind recognizes the desire of the heart, but the mind is like, in order to get there, I must do, based on what I've learned, I must do this, then this, then this, then this, then that. And very few of these action steps feel good to take. Very few of these things feel natural to me. Imagine, I'm wanting to start my business. No, let's take another one. I'm wanting to. I'm wanting to meet a new romantic partner or a new friend. Let's go with that one. Less polarized at the moment. I want to have a new friend with whom I share a hobby. And the mind may be like, okay, sure. Well, in order to do that, I need to get into a club about this hobby. I need to put myself on social medias, which I currently don't have because some of my friends have told me that there are a lot of people about this hobby on that social media. I have to do this thing. I have to maybe move to that city. I have to do these things. And the heart is like, oh my God, that sounds like so much work. And this sensation of that sounds like so much work, the mind is like, oh, that's just because you're lazy. No, it's this resistance is because it's out of alignment. Why does it feel like so much work if it's the only way to do it? If it's the only way to do it, your heart would be like, okay, let's do it. No, oh my God, it feels like so much work because your heart already knows there's a much simpler way. When we feel lazy, when we feel procrastinating, when we feel resisting, it's either two options. Either there's something within us out of alignment, which is calling for attention, which is calling for reintegration, which happens. The second one, which is also very common, and which is definitely the case here, we feel resistance because it's out of alignment. We are wanting to do something because we've been told and we firmly believe that's the only way to do it, whereas our heart already knows there's a much simpler way. That's why it feels like so much work, because deep down we already know, although the mind may not understand it, may not see it clearly at the moment, that there is a much easier way to do it. That's why we're like, why the heck would I have to make myself go through all of these tribulations whenever I know that there's such a simpler path? That's why Spirit is like, the mind is not open at the moment to the idea there is a much simpler way. The heart, though, already knows because you're longing for it. There are a lot of cars honking outside. I hope you're not hearing that. It's like, I don't know what's going on in the street, but oh my God, is it loud? I'm gonna take that as confirmation. I'm gonna take that as confirmation. You know what? That's a reassuring message, but one that needs to be acknowledged. So I'm gonna repeat it one last time. You think that in order to get your dream, you must do all of these things because they're the logical steps, because this is what you've been taught, because this is what you're getting reaffirmed by your peers. But you feel resistance in your heart because you already know deep down that this thing is already bound to happen. First of all, it's not a question of being optimistic or not. It's already bound to happen. It's not as if you had a choice. It's already decided. And second of all, you already know that there's a much simpler way. But why it feels challenging is because the mind, firmly believing that the only way to do it is what it has decided, is not open to the idea at the moment that there's a much simpler way. That is a way that is much simpler and that feels good. That's the struggle you're in right now. Definitely. And Spirit is saying, no, take action, take the risk. Take action and take the risk of making it feel good. What is it that feels good? You want to meet a friend about this hobby. What about, instead of trying to figure out, enjoying the hobby itself? And tomorrow, maybe some of you're wanting to meet a friend who's a painter. What about you just paint and forget about it? That feels good in the moment, maybe. If so, do it. And you don't know, maybe by then you will realize that you're so proud of your painting that you just want to share it online on the social media that you already have, or just sending a picture to a friend. And before you know it, your friend has shown this picture to another person that you don't know, which just so happens to be your future friend. You don't know. And it's time to stop having the presumption that the mind knows better than the universe. It's very cute. It's very reassuring to believe so. It's not true. Okay? So instead of pretending you know better than that which created this world, that which created this universe, that which is making your heartbeat, work with it. What is it that feels inspiring? Go for it. What feels inspiring is also to take a breather, is also to take it slow. Another thing, the mind feels like, oh my God, I need to do it, I need to run, I need to run, I need to chase the ball. Nah, that doesn't feel good for a reason. Okay? Relaxation is part of the journey. I just feel like, I mean, it just makes so much sense, right? We gotta co-create with spirit. This is literally what we've been talking about. It's like one thing is you bowing to your mind and doing how your mind says it, because all the people, I just feel like many of your peers are struggling with the same fears. And so they're just reaffirming to themselves as they're telling to you how to do it, that you need to do it, this way, and that way. And I'm not saying that this way of doing it is wrong. And I just want to make it clear. It's like, there's nothing wrong with doing it this way. If so many people say that this is how you're supposed to do it, it's because it works for them. Okay? It works for some people. If it doesn't work for you, you would know it because you would feel inspired to do something else instead. I just feel like you bowing to your mind and listening to other people's ideas and opinions over your own guidance has led you to, hide your true self, has led you to hiding who you are, has led you to playing, without meaning it, much smaller than that which you truly are. In due time, the fears which have motivated you to do such things in the first place will come to the light, and so this process will be like much effortless. You will develop this trust, this faith, then this knowing that this is how you co-create with spirit. It's not by following the mind, it's by following the heart. This will come in its own timing. But at this moment, you're just asked not to wait for that and just practice it yourself. Make your own case study. Be your own scientist. What results happen when you follow the heart instead of the mind? You might be surprised. This is literally what we call co-creation. Co-creation is when we are experiencing life through the eyes of the human and we're working with the infinite knowing and guidance of our higher self, of our soul, of spirit, of the universe. The universe does not communicate through fear. It doesn't. Unless you are psychic yourself and claircognizant, and so you can channel thoughts directly, which is not all that common, I'm not gonna lie, you will notice that the mind does not know. The mind can only tell you that which it has learned previously. If you're wanting to follow a dream of yours which you haven't experienced yet, that's why you're craving it, because of how much you know it's made for you, because of how natural it feels. That's why you're craving it. It's something you haven't experienced. How the heck would your mind know how to get there? The mind is only capable of experiencing that which is happening, and it records that which has happened. If you ask it the way forward, the only thing it is capable of doing is hypothesize. That's not a word, is it? Making some hypotheses better based of what it has experienced. But if it hasn't experienced that which you're dreaming of right now, how the heck is it supposed to get you there? Make it make sense, damn it. Okay? So instead, ask the one who already knows, which is communicating through you, through your heart. Okay? I know it's going to be challenging because you are doing everything your mind is telling you not to do. but again, that which created this universe knows slightly better than your mind. I hope this was beneficial. I just feel like it was such an empowering message, to be honest, part number 3. Such a fascinating message, one that truly triggers a form of remembrance, remembering like who you are and how you function and what's the place of the mind in your life. It's not meant to be the driving force, it's not meant to be your guide. That's not what it has been designed for. So I just feel like it's a very, very good reminder. And a very exciting one, because I just feel like there's such a fun dream of yours waiting to happen. Okay, thank you so much, Paul and Bethy, for sharing space with me today. That was a heck of a reading. Very fun, very cool. Please let me know down in the comments how it went for you. If it inspired you, what is this dream? I'd love to know about. Also, while you're at it, please like the video and subscribe. That support me a lot. That being said, I'm gonna leave you off with this one. I'm gonna be seeing you in my next video. Till then, have a wonderful time and honestly enjoy the adventure, okay? Bye.